Hello scholars, welcome to Dakshina classroom. Today this is going to be the sixth lecture of your magnetic field and magnetism. We have already studied in the previous lectures that when we placed a current carrying loop inside an external magnetic field, then net force on the loop is zero, while that loop experiences a net torque. And what was that torque? That torque may be written as tau equals I times area vector cross product with field vector. That was the torque experienced by the current carrying loop when placed inside an external magnetic field. We have also seen that if there is not one loop, there is multiple loops. Number of loops are collected together and that coil is placed inside a magnetic field. Then what happens? Then we saw that total torque can be written as N times I times area vector cross product with field vector, where capital N is nothing but number of loops in your coil. We can also write this as mu times mu cross B, where mu is nothing but your magnetic moment of your coil, which is nothing but Ni area vector. So this we have already studied. Now in this video we are going to talk about how we can use this property. When you placed a current carrying loop inside an external magnetic field, then it experiences a torque given by mu cross B. Then how we can use this property in order to measure how much current is passing through your loop. Suppose there is a loop and some current is passing. How much current is passing you do not know. But based on how much torque it is experiencing, you can calculate or you can find out how much current was passing through that loop. So how do we do that? That we are going to study or talk about in today's lecture. So first let us discuss or list out the topics which we are going to cover in today's lecture. So first topic which we will cover is your something called moving coil galvanometer. Moving coil galvanometer. What is galvanometer? We will discuss in detail. That will be the first topic which we will cover. Second topic which we will cover is sensitivity or current sensitivity. Current sensitivity of galvanometer. And the third topic which we will discuss is voltage sensitivity. Voltage sensitivity of galvanometer. Now while we are covering this chapter of magnetic field and magnetism, this is a very vast topic. There are a sea of subtopics under this in this chapter. So while we are covering, there might be some minor topics here and there we might miss out. Don't worry about those. We will cover those topics as well at the end of your this chapter. So don't worry that sir this topic is left, that topic is left. This is a very vast chapter. So while covering we may miss out some topics, few topics minor here and there. So don't worry about those, we will cover everything. So in today's lecture we will focus mainly on these three subtopics. Now here you can see a very basic diagram of your galvanometer. Now what is a galvanometer? Galvanometer, as you must have seen in your laboratories, galvanometer is nothing but an instrument which detects the current. It cannot measure very high amount of current, but it can detect very small amount of current, and it also can detect which direction your current is going. So if it is asked what is a galvanometer, so you can simply say a device used to detect the small amounts of current. It cannot measure very large unless and until you convert it into a meter. So a galvanometer is nothing but a device used to detect the small amount of currents. Now, how does the galvanometer works? So before we jump into what is the actual working of galvanometer, let us get some basics. So first point. In the first point, you must have seen when we talk about materials, Young's double properties of matter, then we talk about that if I rotate a wire, suppose that I have a wire here like this, and if I twist this wire by an angle theta, then what happened? Because of the twisting, that wire applies a restoring torque. So you must have played like we tie the marker or pencil in a thread and we rotate it and then we leave it. Then what happens? It starts coming down spiraling. So you must have seen how they make threads, or when you wringe your clothes, what you do? You twist your cloth, and after some time it is very difficult to twist it further. Why? Because the wire also is applying some restoring torque. So here what we will say, because the wire is twisted, so because of twist there is a torsional torque which you called. So because of the twist, torsional torque is applied. So that twist, because of the twist, the wire tries to what? You are twisting the wire and wire will try to come back to its original position. So wire will try to cancel the torque applied by you. So what will happen? When we twist the wire tries to rotate back. Wire tries to apply a restoring torque against the external torque applied by you. So when we twist a wire, when a wire is twisted by an external torque, it tries to apply restoring torque in order to cancel the effect of external torque. So what we can say here, when a wire is twisted, this you must have studied in properties of matter chapter, but still, when a wire is twisted by an external torque, it tries to apply restoring torque because it wants to go back to its original position. It tries to apply restoring torque in order to regain its original position. So if I twist my wire by an angle theta, then how much restoring torque will be applied? So when you twist a wire by theta, then restoring torque, which is also called torsional torque, is proportional to theta, meaning the greater the twist you apply on the wire, the greater will be restoring torque applied by the wire. So that is proportional to theta. So which can be written as equal to some constant k times theta. So restoring torque equals k times theta. Now in this diagram we have drawn here a spring, spool spring. In that case also restoring torque is proportional to theta. You must have played with toys, right? There are toys with keys. The more we twist the key of the toy, more it moves forward. So there, if you have like disassembled it sometime, then you will see that there is a spring inside that torque, inside that toy. So what happens when you wound the spring applies restoring torque, and because of that restoring torque, your toy, train or jeep or car, whatever it is, it moves forward. So here also what we will do, instead of using a wire, what I have done is, here it is a spring. So when an external force will be applied, that spring will apply a restoring torque. How much restoring torque it will apply? K times theta, where K is the constant of that spring. Now it is different from the force constant, which is K delta XU, right? It is different from that. But here K times theta will be the restoring torque applied by this spring. And theta is what? Theta is the angle by which that spring will be twisted. So that way. So pause the video, note it down, then we will move forward. Now let us try to discuss what is the torque experienced by the loop inside a magnetic field. Now we have already seen how much is the torque experience. That is your mu cross B, where mu is the magnetic moment. What is exactly magnetic moment we will discuss in detail, but how to find the magnetic moment, that we have already discussed. Now here what we have is, we have a soft iron core, and on that soft iron core we have wound the insulated copper wire. This is your copper loop. Here 1, 2, 3 lines we have shown. So here we have shown only 3 loops wound on the top of your soft iron core, but in actual there are number of loops. So here 3 loops are there like this. Now here if you observe, the magnetic field is a little bit different. Now this is what you call radial magnetic field. Radial magnetic field means, here it is a soft iron core sphere. So radial magnetic field always will pass through the center of that sphere, like this, like this, like this. It is not passing like this. It is not passing parallel. It is always passing through center. So what is the significance of this? Why we are using radial magnetic field instead of parallel magnetic field, uniform magnetic field? Radial magnetic field is not uniform. So why we are using radial magnetic field? There is a very important point why we are using. What was the torque? Torque was number of turns in my loop. Here that is the loop coil. So N number of turns times I, which is current through the coil, multiplied by area vector cross product with field vector. And if I want to write the magnitude, then what I can write? Magnitude of torque is nothing but N I A B sine theta, where theta is the angle between area vector and magnetic field vector. Now if we use a straight line like this, if you use uniform field, and if I place my loop here like this, then as soon as the loop will rotate, my theta will also change. So if we keep loop like this, here like this, then theta is different. Rotation will change the theta, and if rotation changes theta, my torque will also change. So in order to avoid that, in order to make my torque applied by magnetic field on this coil independent of theta, what we can do is we apply radial field. Now how does radial field makes this torque independent of theta? Let us try to discuss. Now if you observe here, this is my plane of the loop like this. If this is the plane of the loop, then this will be your area vector like this. And if this is the area vector, see here, only this field like this is making 90 degree. What about this field? This field will pass through your loop but that field will not apply any torque on your loop. How? See here. Let us say this is my current carrying loop. Correct? Now, if a field line is passing like this, if a field line is crossing through your loop, but it is not crossing through your wire, field line will only apply force, magnetic field will only apply torque when it applies force, and it will only apply force when it crosses your wire. So what is happening here? Here, when your wire is like this, only this field line is crossing your wire. Others, this field, this field, this field, this field, they are not crossing your wire of the loop. Wire is like this, wire is wound like this. So only this line, this field is passing. Others are not crossing through the wire. They are crossing through the loop like this. They are crossing through the loop, but they are not crossing through your wire of the loop. That is why they will not apply any torque on the loop. So, what will happen here? In this position, only this field line will apply your torque. Only this field. And after you rotate it a little bit, let us say I rotated it like this. Now what will happen? When the coil becomes like this, only this line will apply torque, only this line, others will not apply. So the benefit of using a radial field is that only that field which is parallel to the plane of the coil. See here, this is the plane of the coil, and here this field is parallel to the plane of the coil. So only that field which is parallel to the plane of the coil, only that field will apply torque. Other fields will not apply any torque. And if I rotate it a little bit, then again this field will become parallel and others will not apply any torque. So in that way, what is happening? Here field line is like this and area vector is like this. When I make the loop like this, then field line is like this and area vector is like this. If I make the loop rotate like this, then this will be field line and this will be area vector. So always angle between field lines and area vector becomes always 90. So the benefit of using your radial field is that angle between your field line crossing through the loop, crossing through the wires of the loop, or field applying the torque on the loop, and the angle and the area vector, angle between them is always 90. See here, this is the wire, this is the area vector. Here, this is the field, this is the area vector. This is the field, this is the area vector. So angle between field which is applying torque and area vector is always 90. Why is that? Because not all field is applying torque. Only that field is applying torque which is parallel to your coil, which is in the plane of the coil. This one will not apply torque in this case. This one will not apply torque in this case. This one will not apply. Why? Because they are crossing through the loop area, but they are not crossing through the wire of the loop. And if they not cross through the wire of the loop, they will not apply any torque. And if they do not apply any torque, then we do not count them. So, what is the benefit of using radial field? So, what do we do? What we write here? We use radial magnetic field in order to make torque independent. This might be asked sometimes, independent of theta. In this case, theta is always 90 degree, like that. So what will be the torque? Torque will always be NIAB sine 90. So torque on the coil is NIAB. Now remember, this coil is different, that spring is different. That coil is like this. This three lines we have drawn. The spring is that spool we have drawn like this. That is your spring, like this. So the torque is always NIAB. Even if you rotate your coil, the torque remains NIAB. Why? Because we are using radial magnetic field. You can pause the video and note it down, then we will move forward. Now let us talk about how actually your galvanometer works. Now until now we have talked about what is the torque experienced by the coil and the spring. Now how does this actually works? Let us discuss. Now what happens? You pass a current through the coil. When the coil, which is wound here like this, when you pass the some amount of current through the coil, that coil experiences a torque, and because of that torque, that coil rotates. So let us try to discuss the working of your galvanometer. So first point is, when current I is passed through coil, it experiences a torque tau equals NIAB. Now sine theta terms does not factor here. Why it does not factor? That we have already discussed. Because of the radial magnetic field, angle between area vector and field vector is always 90 degree. So tau is equal to NIAB. So second point, because of this torque, coil tries to rotate like this. Now what happens? When the coil tries to rotate, this spring, or in some books it is also shown as a straight wire attached to your coil. Both are correct. In NCERT it has shown the spring, so we have shown the spring. In some books it is like a straight wire which is attached, and that twisting produces restoring torque on the straight wire. So both are correct. Depends on which book you are using, different depictions may be given. Now what happens? So spring tied to coil also rotates with coil. So as this coil rotates, the spring also rotates. So when the spring rotates, then what happens? Because of the rotation in the spring, there is a torsional torque. There is a restoring torque applied by the spring. So fourth, because of this rotation, a restoring torque is applied by the spring against the torque due to magnetic field on the coil. So magnetic field applies torque on the coil. Because of that torque, coil tries to rotate. When the coil tries to rotate, the spring also rotates with the coil, and because the rotation of the spring tries to apply restoring torque on the coil. Against which torque? Against the torque applied by the magnetic field on the coil. Pause the video, note it down, then we will move forward. Now what happens? When the coil experiences a torque and the spring tries to oppose that torque, then what will happen? There will come a point when these two opposing torques will balance each other. The coil will experience the torque because of the magnetic field, and the spring will apply torque because of the rotation in the coil. So as the rotation increases, restoring torque increases. So what will happen? The spring torque or the restoring torque will balance the torque experienced by the coil. So here you can write torque by spring, or in some books it is written like a long thread or wire, no problem. Torque by spring balances the torque experienced by coil. So a spring torque or the straight wire, in some books it is given its torque balances the torque applied by the magnetic field on your coil. So what was spring torque? K times phi. Phi is the angle rotated. And what is your coil torque? Coil torque is nothing but your NIAB. Here I have written phi in order to avoid confusion between NIAB sine theta, which was always 90 degree. To avoid confusion, here I have written phi. Phi is the angle twisted. How much we twist that spring, how much we twist that wire. So greater the twist, more is the torque. So what happens is spring torque or the restoring torque, it balances the torque experienced by your coil. Now can I write it like this? I is nothing but K times phi divided by NAB. Now here, what is phi? Phi is the angle rotated by your coil. Now coil is inside the box. Then how do we measure that angle? So let us write this afterwards. So what we do is, we have attached a pointer here. Now what is the use of this pointer? This pointer, here it is coil and pointer is attached to the coil. So pointer indicates how much rotation your coil takes. Depending upon the rotation of your coil, pointer also moves forward or backward. So the pointer indicates the rotation experienced by your coil or your twist experienced by the spring. So here you can say 6th point, a pointer is attached to coil in order to measure the rotation by the coil. So why the coil will be rotated? Coil will be rotated because of the torque applied on the coil due to the radial magnetic field. So it is different from that theta. Theta was the angle between area vector and field vector. Now here angle rotated is different. That is why we will write a different phi. So what will happen here? Torque is balanced. So K times phi is the restoring torque, where phi is the angle rotated by the coil, which is equal to NIAB. Here it is y always NIAB. Why not sine theta here? That we have already discussed. Because of the radial magnetic field, sine theta, theta is always 90. Angle between area vector and field vector is always 90. So K phi is equal to NIAB. So I will be equal to K times phi divided by NAB, like this. So here what are the properties? What is N? N is the number of turns. N is the number of turns in coil. What is A? A is the area of coil. Area of coil or area of one loop. What is B? B is the magnitude of field. Magnitude of field. What is phi? Phi is the angle rotated by the coil. And what is K? K is torsional constant of your spring or wire. So K is the property of this spring or the wire. K is the, you can write, torsional constant of spring / wire. Now, so what happens? You know the value of K already. You know the number of turns in your coil. You know the area of the coil. And you know the magnetic field. Now, depending upon the current, here what will happen? Greater the angle rotated, your pointer will indicate the angle rotated. So, greater the angle shown by the pointer, meaning greater will be current. So, if you are able to measure the angle, if you have measured the angle phi, how much angle this pointer shows. Suppose for example at a point pointer shows here, then you can measure this phi, and based on, if you put the value of phi here, K N A B, you already know. Phi you can measure from here, and based on this formula you can find how much current is passing through your coil. So in that way we can measure the amount of current passing through our coil. Or if we use this galvanometer in a circuit, then current passing through the circuit will pass through the wire of the coil as well. So that way we can measure how much current is passing through any circuit. So you can pause the video and note it down. Then we will try to solve a question based on this. Now let us try to solve a question based on what we have just learned about a moving coil galvanometer. Now you can pause the video and try to solve this question yourself. Now let us read the question. A moving coil galvanometer has a coil of 100 turns, meaning here this coil which we have shown, here we have shown only 3 lines, meaning 3 loops, 3 turns. But in this question, there are 100 turns in this coil. So, moving coil galvanometer has a coil of 100 turns and an area of 2 centimeter square. Meaning this coil will be circular. This coil will be like this, turn like this. So, area of this coil, this area is how much? 2 centimeter square in this question. So, an area of 2 centimeter square. If radial field of 0.01 Tesla is present, meaning this field radial which is present, the magnitude of that field is 0.01 Tesla, then the dial is deflected by 0.05 radian. Here this is the pointer or dial. So when the torque will be applied, the coil will rotate, and with the coil this dial will be deflected. So how much it is deflected? In this case 0.05 radian it is deflected here. Dial is deflected by this much. If torsional constant of this suspension wire is this much. Now here in this case we have discussed through a spring. In some books it is always also given as suspension wire, no problem. They both work same way. Depending upon the angle rotated by the coil, they will apply a restoring torque. There is no difference between the working with a spring or a suspension wire. Both work same way. Same formula applies on both of them. So suspension wire is 4 into 10 to power minus 5 Newton meter per radian. So depending upon how much angle is rotated by your coil, suspension wire, or in this case here the spring, they both will apply restoring torque. Then find the current through coil. We have to find out how much current is passing through the coil. Now we have already studied the formula. Current is what? K times phi divided by NAB. Where what is K? K is the torsional constant of your suspension wire, or in the diagram spring, no problem. What is phi? Phi is the angle rotated by this your coil, and depending upon the angle rotated the dial is deflected. So phi in this case will be nothing but deflection in the dial. So deflected by 0.05 radian, that is your phi. What is N? Number of turns. How many turns are there? 100 turns. What is A? A is the area of the coil. How much area? 2 centimeter square. What is B? B is the magnitude of radial field present, which is how much? 0.01 Tesla. So let us put the values. So 4 into 10 to the power minus 5 K multiplied by phi. Phi is 0.05 radian. Remember, phi is to be put in radian. Divided by N. N is 100. A. Area is written in 2 centimeter square. We will have to convert it into meter square. So multiplied by 2 into 10 to the power minus 4 meter square. Magnetic field. What is magnetic field? 0.01 Tesla. Like this. So 0.01, 0.05. 5 times. 5 times into 4. 20. So this will come out to be your how much? 10 to the power minus 2 ampere. Or you can also write it as 10 milliampere. So in this case, current through your galvanometer coil is 10 milliampere. Now what is current sensitivity of your galvanometer? In order to illustrate this, let us take an example. Let us say we have 2 galvanometers with us, and we are passing same amount of current through both of the galvanometer. So let us say we write galvanometer 1, galvanometer 2, and we pass same amount of current. Let us say 10 milliampere based on the previous question. So from both the galvanometers we are passing the same amount of current, equal amount of current. Now there is a dial on the galvanometer. You must have seen a galvanometer in your laboratory, or this is the dial here. Now when passing the same amount of current through both of the galvanometer, let us say deflection shown by the dial. Galvanometer 1 shows the deflection of, let us say, 0.1 radian. This is the deflection shown by galvanometer 1. And let us say galvanometer 2 shows the deflection of 0.3 radian. Like this. So, sensitivity of an instrument is that how minute current it can measure. How small current it can measure. So, here. For the same amount of current, this galvanometer is showing less deflection, and this galvanometer is showing more deflection. So which one is more sensitive? See here, what is the input? Input is your current. How much current is passing through your galvanometer? And what is the output? What is the reaction of the galvanometer? Reaction of the galvanometer is deflection showed by the dial. So this one is showing less reaction. This one is showing more reaction. So what you can say is, what is the sensitivity of your galvanometer? Sensitivity of galvanometer can be said as nothing but how much deflection it will show for a given amount of current. So if two galvanometers, let us say first galvanometer is showing how much? 0.1 radian per 10 milliampere. So angle deflected per unit current. Here 0.3 radian per 10 milliampere. So obviously per unit of current, second galvanometer is showing more deflection and first galvanometer is showing less deflection. That is why we will call second galvanometer as more sensitive and first galvanometer to be less sensitive. So sensitivity of a galvanometer depends upon how much deflection it will show for a given amount of current or for per unit current. So what is current sensitivity? Current sensitivity is nothing but angle deflected by the dial per unit current. So we already know that I is nothing but what? K times phi divided by NAB, where I is the current passing through the coil and phi is the angle deflected. So angle deflected per unit current will be what? Phi divided by I, and phi by I can be written as NAB divided by K. So angle deflected divided by current passing. So greater the angle deflected per unit current, more is the sensitivity of your galvanometer. So sensitivity of the galvanometer can be written as phi by I, which is equal to NAB divided by K. So you can remember this, sensitivity is nothing but angle deflected by the dial per unit current, or you can write here per unit current passing through your galvanometer. This is your current sensitivity of your galvanometer. Now if you want to increase the current sensitivity of your galvanometer, then what you can do? See here, if I want to increase this sensitivity, now phi and I is depending upon outside, that we cannot change, that is the input and output. So if I want to increase the sensitivity, I will have to change the mechanism or my apparatus, how my apparatus is made. Either I can change number of turns, or I can change area, or I can change field, or I can change value of K. So if you want to increase the area in order to increase the sensitivity, then what will happen? See, the greater the area, bigger will be your galvanometer. So that will be a problem. You cannot make your galvanometer very large. So in order to increase the sensitivity, what we do is, we generally increase the number of turns in the galvanometer. You can increase the area, you can increase the field, or you can decrease the value of K, but increasing the area will increase the size of the galvanometer. That is problematic. High magnetic field will also, because we will need bigger your magnets, bigger coil and all that. That is also a problem. So generally if we want to increase the sensitivity, what we do is, we increase the number of turns in the coil. So you can write this as note. To increase sensitivity or current sensitivity, here you can say, to increase current sensitivity, we generally increase number of turns in the coil. We can surely increase area, but increasing the area will result in bigger size of the galvanometer. That is not desired. We cannot keep our galvanometer very large. So generally we increase the number of turns. You can pause the video and note it down. So now let us discuss what is voltage sensitivity of your galvanometer. Now what is voltage sensitivity is, a galvanometer works on the basis of current. It detects the current. But as we will see in the next lecture, that a galvanometer can be converted to measure the magnitude of current or the voltage. Meaning a galvanometer can be converted into an ammeter or a voltmeter. So when a galvanometer is working as a voltmeter, then we will discuss what is voltage sensitivity. In the same way, the current sensitivity, the deflection per unit current. What will be the voltage sensitivity? The deflection shown by the dial per unit voltage across the coils of your galvanometer. Same way. So what we can write? Voltage sensitivity. How do we convert galvanometer into voltmeter? That we will discuss in the next lecture. So here, what is voltage sensitivity? Nothing but deflection shown by the dial per unit potential difference across coil. So this is the coil. So how much potential difference is there across the terminals of your galvanometer and how much deflection it is showing. So per deflection shown by the dial per unit potential difference across the coil, or you can also write across the terminals of your galvanometer. Across the terminals, both are same thing, terminals of galvanometer, like this. Now how do we measure this? We have already studied that I is equal to K times phi divided by NAB, where I is the current passing through the coil and phi is the angle deflected or deflection shown by the dial. Now what is I? I is nothing but V is equal to IR, or I is nothing but V by R. So in place of I can also write V divided by R, where what is V? V is the potential difference across the terminals. And what is R? R is the total radius of the coil, total radius of the coil, like this. So what is the voltage sensitivity? Deflection per unit potential difference. So phi divided by V, and phi by V can be written as NAB divided by K times R, like this. So phi by V is equal to NAB divided by K times R. Now here everything is same, just V is what? Potential difference across the terminals. And what is R? R is nothing but total resistance of coil, like this. So if you want to measure what is the voltage sensitivity, you can use this formula. Phi by V is equal to NAB divided by K times R, where N is the number of turns, A is the area of coil, B is the magnitude of radial field, K is your torsional constant of either the wire suspension wire or the spring, whichever is given in your question you can use. And R is the total resistance of your coil, meaning there are 100 turns. So R is the total resistance of those wire, 100 turns wire, that total resistance. So phi by V is equal to NAB divided by K times R. You can pause the video and note it down. Now let us try to compare voltage sensitivity and current sensitivity of a galvanometer. Now current sensitivity phi by I is written as NAB divided by K, where phi is the angle deflected, I is the current, N is the number of turns, A is the area, B is the radial magnetic field, and K is your torsional constant. Now voltage sensitivity may be written as your, here let us write it like this, phi by V, angle deflected per unit voltage. This can be written as NAB divided by K times R, where R is the total resistance, everything else is same. Now for the same galvanometer, if current sensitivity is this and voltage sensitivity is this. Now if I want to increase my sensitivity, current sensitivity and voltage sensitivity, we have already seen that for increasing the current sensitivity, what we generally do is we increase the number of turns. Now can I apply the same thing in case of voltage sensitivity? Now let us check it out. So phi by V is equal to NAB divided by K times, remember what is R? R is the total resistance of how many turns is there in the coil. Now let us suppose I double the number of coils. So if I double the number of coils, current sensitivity will double. But will the voltage sensitivity also double? Now remember, number of turns is doubled, but since the resistance, total resistance of the coil will be proportional to the length of the wire, and if you double the number of turns, total length of the wire will also double. Or we can write here, total resistance is what? Let us say resistance of one loop, one turn is R naught. Then resistance of n number of turns will be how much? N times R naught. N will cancel out. So phi by V is written as AB divided by K times R naught. Meaning your voltage sensitivity is independent of number of turns in your coil. Meaning when you increase the voltage sensitivity, or sorry, when you increase the N is the number of turns in the coil. So when you increase the number of turns in your coil, the current sensitivity will increase, but voltage sensitivity will not increase. Why? Because voltage sensitivity is independent of number of turns in your coil. So you can write that here. Since voltage sensitivity is independent of number of turns in coil. Here R naught is the resistance of one coil, one loop. Here R was total resistance of all those n loops. So since voltage sensitivity is independent of number of turns in coil, upon increasing the number of turns, current sensitivity increases. Current sensitivity increases while voltage sensitivity remains same. So when you increase the number of turns, your current sensitivity will increase, but your voltage sensitivity will not increase because it is independent of number of turns in the coil. So if you want to increase the voltage sensitivity, you will have to change either area or field or K or R naught. In that way you can change. So sometimes they ask that number of turns is doubled or tripled, then which of the following will not change? So your voltage sensitivity will not change while current sensitivity will change. You can pause the video and note it down. So this was the end of your lecture number 6 for magnetic field and magnetism. In this lecture we have studied what is a galvanometer, what is the current sensitivity of a galvanometer, and what is voltage sensitivity of a galvanometer. In the next lecture we will talk about how we can convert a galvanometer into an ammeter or a voltmeter. So until then, keep revising your topics and try to solve as many questions as you can.